Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger acknowledged this week that it could be his last game at Heinz Field on Monday night against the Cleveland Browns here in Week 17. That leaves them with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins on the roster and looking for another starting quarterback in 2022. Ari Meirov, one of our PFF NFL insiders, could one of those in-house options for the Steelers actually be on the table for 2022?
Yeah, it becomes very interesting, Doug. And the Steelers knew entering this year that this will be Ben's final year. If you recall, he took the pay cut, they reworked the contract, made his cap number lower, and he's back in the building. But they really didn't position themselves in a way where they know exactly what's going to happen with the future at the position. And, you mentioned Mason Rudolph, who was re-signed. They brought in and took a flyer on Dwayne Haskins, who will be a restricted free agent this offseason. No guarantee that he's going to be back. But, there are people in that building who do like Mason Rudolph. They do like him, and they believe that he does have a future in the NFL, and he is just an option for 2022. Doesn't mean he's the guy, but they will at least have him there. The problem really with this team is that the offensive line there is a major issue. And we know last year they completely redid it. They lost a number of Pro Bowl players from the offensive line, and most likely once again this offseason they're going to have to do some more reshuffling up front. And if they are going to go out there and try to find a different quarterback on the market, especially one of the bigger names, why would anybody want to come to a situation where the offensive line is such a mess? The other thing that's probably worth noting is that their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, this was his first year on the job, and that offense really hasn't been great. It hasn't gelled the way they would hope for, and there's no guarantee that he's going to be retained for 2023. Now, that decision has not been made yet, but it is something to keep an eye on as we move forward this offseason. If he's not held on to, who they replace him with could go a long way as we try to figure out who will be the quarterback for next season.
It does feel like the Steelers could certainly use a big swing at that quarterback position. If they do retain Matt Canada, then there is some sort of connection there with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson went to NC State, then Wisconsin. Matt Canada didn't overlap with Russell Wilson, but he was also at NC State and Wisconsin. He worked under some of the head coaches that Russell Wilson played under. But another one that people are throwing out there is Aaron Rodgers. That seems a little bit less likely, at least with Russell Wilson from league sources that I've talked to. They don't really expect him back in Seattle next year. So if the Seahawks did want to trade him, and if the Steelers did feel like they were a Russell Wilson away from being contenders, they do have the weapons on their team, at least, in Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, to maybe attract one of those top quarterbacks. But Brad Spielberger is one of our NFL analysts. If the Steelers go the draft route at their quarterback position, maybe pair him with a guy like Mason Rudolph, what would be the options there?
Yeah, so Pittsburgh has said that they would prefer not to start over with a rookie right away, but they did extend Mason Rudolph, as already mentioned, so they could draft a guy, put him behind Rudolph for a year, and then see where it goes from there. And so Mike Renner, our lead draft analyst, his big board has Matt Corral out of Ole Miss at 16th overall, and then Kenny Pickett at 20th overall. There are actually 5 guys inside the top 40. If you also include Sam Howell at UNC, Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati, and then Malik Willis, kind of the wild card option at Liberty, are all players that they could bring in that will probably be there. Maybe not, but probably will be there when they pick in that kind of 16 to 20 range in the draft. And guys they could bring in and take some time, let that offensive line build out, and then start. Once they're going to get everything else situated.
Yeah, and there could be other quarterback movement around the NFL. Derek Carr, his future still might be a little bit uncertain with the Las Vegas Raiders. Tua Tagovailoa, if the Miami Dolphins make a big upgrade at quarterback, then maybe he could be available as well. So the Steelers certainly have a lot of options on the table right now. It's just still a bit of a mystery which direction they actually go.